Coming up on Sports Channel America, a Power Sports International production. It's round 6 of the United States National Championship Motocross Series sanctioned by the American Motorcyclist Association. Today's action comes to you from a soggy Kenworthy Motocross Park in Troy, Ohio. The rain, though, has not dampened the spirits of the crowd. Motocross is rain or shine, and regardless of the weather, the action is always hot and heavy. Stay with us. You'll see it all from the comfort of your easy chair.
Welcome to the United States Motocross Nationals.
Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to the exclusive coverage of the 1992 AMA National Championship Motocross Series here on Sports Channel America. We've got a lot of exciting action coming your way. Before we get to it, though, let's take a look at what happened last week. Team Yamaha's Jeff Emig was the early leader at Redbud Track and Trail in the opening moto of the 125 class. Giving chase to the right side of your screen will be number 575. That's Jeff DeMett. On the left, it's number 5, former national champ Guy Cooper. Right behind them comes number 27, Tyson Volan. Look close and you get a flash of number 22. That was Buddy Antunez. Giving chase, though, was all that quartet or anyone else would do in moto number 1 in this Redbud Track and Trail. Real tough, beautifully prepared racetrack. It was all Jeff Emig. He never looked back. He was never headed. Guy Cooper moved up to the number 2 position. He would stay there the rest of the day. Back in the pack, in fact, out of camera range was Mike LaRocco. LaRocco, the local favorite from LaPorte, Indiana, suffered a bad start. He was never a factor. LaRocco would work all the way up to 3rd. That's as far as he would go. Emig throws off the goggles. That's traditional. Jeff, you should have kept them for a souvenir. His first ever national win is coming up. You'll see that action in a second. Emig, Cooper, LaRocco, Ryan Hughes, Brian Swink, a Michigan rider, rounding out the top 5. Here it is, moto number 2, a pile-up in the early lap. Took a couple of good riders out of contention in that one, but one of them was not Jeff Emig. Emig took again the early lead in the second moto. This time he had a little bit more competition in that Mike LaRocco, rider number 7. There he is, got off the line in pretty good shape. In the early going, he was all the way up to the number 4 position. So Jeff Emig getting the competition from LaRocco. Watch this coming up. See this? Look at LaRocco, almost out of camera range, an unbelievable pass. That was a triple jump that no 125s were doing, with the exception of Mike LaRocco. So LaRocco really on the gas in front of what he considers his hometown crowd. Watch this pass that he puts on Jeff Emig to take over the number 1 spot. You see, he had a little help as Emig seemed to have brake problems in the middle of that big left-hand hairpin turn. So that put LaRocco out front. He was never headed. He won that moto. Emig, though, took the overall win for the day, his first ever in national championship competition. Here's a look at the 250cc class. Damon Bradshaw from Charlotte, North Carolina. Color him Yamaha and color the guy right behind him aboard a Honda, as in Jeff Stanton. He was a 2-time 250cc national champ, looking to regain that honor in 1992. Will he get it? I don't know. Look at this. A battle raged all moto long between the two riders. These two have been the dominant figures in 250cc racing this year, and it would appear that they're not ready to give an inch to each other. Stanton would take the lead. Bradshaw would take it back. They went back and forth a couple of times. Now watch what happens to Bradshaw. He gets a little bit anxious. He's cutting across the track here. That's into a line that he has not ridden before. Bang, down he goes over the bar. He hit hard hard. The bike come around and slapped him, caught him on the back and the legs. He was out for the day. Jeff Stanton took the win in the moto. Mike Kiedrowski was second. Then came Doug Dubach. Jeff Ward turned in a fourth-place performance, and rounding out the top 5 was Jeff Muddiest. Early going in moto number 2, Mike Kiedrowski holding down the number 2 position, giving chase to Larry Brooks, a privateer rider number 30. Now that battle went on for several laps before Kiedrowski got the best of Brooks, and once he does that, he's going to say goodbye to the rest of the field. Mike Kiedrowski is going to win this one. Now coming up, I'm going to show you why. There was one rider on the racetrack that was really moving. That was Jeff Stanton, and Stanton was in a position at the rate of speed that he was moving to catch. He should have caught the leaders. Watch this. Here he comes, Stanton, as he had caught to the rear of the lead duo, just went over the handlebars, and he was out of that one. It was okay, got up quick, and came back to action. But Kiedrowski was the overall winner for the day. Stanton finished second overall. Jeff Ward took third overall. Then came Doug Dubach and Jeff Muddiest. So in the 125 class, Emig won his first national ever. In the 250 class, it was Kiedrowski winning his first ever 250 national. That action took place in Buchanan, Michigan under ideal conditions. Today, though, not so ideal. A lot of rain has turned this Kenworthy motocross park into a muddy quagmire. Coming up, 125cc action from the first moto. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is a scene from the pits at Kenworthy's Motocross Park in Troy, Ohio. We're just about set to get underway with 125cc racing action. Track is very muddy. Now, believe it or not, the riders would like to see it rain just a little bit more. Brian Swink explained.
Thank you, Larry. Here in the Suzuki pits with Brian Swink. Brian, very muddy track out there. What's it like?
I just rode second practice. It's pretty bad, and it looks like it's getting worse. I think if it rains, it'll be better because right now the mud's really sticky, and if it starts raining, I think it'll loosen up a little bit and not be so bad.
I've seen a lot of guys get stuck. Is that your main problem?
Yeah, it looks to be, you know, stay up and stay out of the ruts. That's it, you know. I'm way behind in points, so I got a lot to gain here and nothing to lose, really, you know. So it'll be good for me.
Very good. How's everything going this year with you?
Well, outdoor season hasn't been going too good, you know. I've had a lot of bad luck. I've, you know, fell in the first turn a couple times. Just things, you know, you create your own luck, but it's been happening to me, and I'm way behind in points, and I hope just to ride good here and, you know, hopefully, you know, not put no bad curses on no one, but if they had some problems, I could make up a lot of points here.
Has it been a big adjustment for you going from the Pro Circuit Honda to Suzuki?
No, not too much at all, you know. Basically, if you can ride a motorcycle, you can ride any motorcycle. And, you know, I'm on good equipment, and it's a good team. My mechanic works good with me, and I haven't had no problems at all.
Well, we'll look for you out front today. Good luck.
All right, thanks a lot.
That was Carl Holman talking with Team Suzuki's Brian Swink. First moto in the 125cc class about to get underway. This is round 6 of the National Championship Series. The 125 is a long way to go. There are 11 races in that series. For the 250s coming up later today, this will be the season finale. So before we leave Kenworthy Motocross Park, we will crown a 250cc national champion. Now, I've been telling you it's muddy, and I think as we pan the starting area, you had a look at just how bad the situation could be out here today at Kenworthy Motocross Park. They've taken a dozer to the first corner. There you see the marks made by the dozer. The bikes will come around and make a left-hand turn on your screen, a right-hand turn if you're a rider. Here they come, headed toward corner number 1. Look at the mud, the slop flying. Already, the riders that are behind the leaders are just thoroughly soaked. Their riding gear is going to get heavy very, very fast. The mud will stick to the motorcycles. The motorcycles will increase in weight, and on occasion that could go as high as 100 to 150 pounds of mud baked on the rider and bike. It's going to be miserable controlling the machines out here this afternoon. It looks like it is Mike LaRocco who took the whole shot already. This lap number 1 is not even close to being over, and we're having trouble identifying the riders, and I suspect it's going to be that way all day long. LaRocco did not get the whole shot. That's evidenced by how muddy he is. Someone in front of him had thrown all that mud back into LaRocco's face before LaRocco took the lead. You can see the bikes are getting sideways, coming over this series of small jumps. and it's just going to be miserable for these riders. Here's another one. Look at that, just cresting the top of that jump and nowhere to go. He falls down up quickly, not being injured by any means, but the mud is creating havoc out here. Here's Mike LaRocco. He's the leader, rider number, and whoever that was in second place has gone down. Now we can't begin to determine who these riders are. That looked like rider number 39 in front of us. That would be Jimmy Button aboard the DGY Yamaha. Now, it is a Yamaha. Rider didn't look quite tall enough to be Button, but it did look like a number 39 and a number plate. Who knows? Maybe with all this rain and moisture, Button has shrunk just a little bit. Here's LaRocco. You see the advantage of being out front. LaRocco is still just a hair on the clean side. You can still make out the numbers on his motorcycle. He was splattered on the opening corner somewhat, but he managed to then pull the lead away from whoever had done the splattering, and he's not been headed since that point. Look at the riders now coming up. These riders have all been pelted by mud from the rear wheel of several of the riders in front of them, and are they ever paying a price? There is Jeff Emming, this young man aboard his Yamaha, rider number 8, and a rider down. It looks like that's rider number 15. And that was Brian Swink. Now, we'll update you on Swink's condition just as soon as we find something out. It is unusual for someone to go down that hard on this type of a racetrack. Generally, they're not able to get up to any kind of speed, so let's hope that he was just dashed to the ground. And LaRocco just got stuck. Would you look at that? He went around the corner. He was just sailing along, and all of a sudden coming to an abrupt halt, and LaRocco was momentarily stuck. Now, he got out of that groove and back on the track and back into action, but that's the kind of day they're having out here at Kenworthy Motocross Park. With all of the rain that has fallen, this once upon a time farmland has been turned into a quagmire of mud. Mike LaRocco continues to lead. To continue with Brian Swink's story, it is our hope, of course, that he was just dashed to the ground and had the wind knocked out of him. It's hard to imagine that anything more serious than that would be wrong with Swink at this time. We'll find out and get back to you. Here's Guy Cooper. Cooper, rider number 5, has moved now into the number 2 position. Cooper is really on the gas. I'm going to tell you right up front, Guy Cooper is one of the best mud riders in the world today. You know why? He likes it. When Cooper finds mud, he just wants to get on his motorcycle and go play in it. He says it is just great. It is just a ball of fun, and I love to do it. Can you imagine that? In any event, Cooper has moved up to the number 2 position. He's a long way, though, from Mike LaRocco. Of course, in this treacherous going, the treacherous footing here at Kenworthy Motocross Park, anything could happen. And LaRocco getting airborne up over the top of that whoop-de-doo section, I think is flirting with disaster. I think you want to keep your wheels on the ground here at Kenworthy as much as you possibly can. LaRocco has been the most consistent rider in this 125 class. He has taken 2 events out of the 3 run to date overall and has finished 5th overall, plus 3rd overall and 2nd overall in the 3 other events. Here's Guy Cooper, and Cooper too has not fared all that badly in the opening rounds of the 125cc National Championship Series. Cooper, though, would like to have done better. He was the 1990 125 national champ, would like to get that honor back. He's going to have to beat LaRocco to do it. LaRocco is the rider that, as I have told you, put in the most consistent performances to date. And he's leading the series, and he's leading this moto through all of the mud, the quagmire here at Kenworthy Motocross Park. Now, I know you've heard me use the term moto. Let me quickly explain for those of you that are unaware. A moto is a race, and there are 2 races or 2 motos in each the 125 and 250cc classes. As we take a look at the leaderboard showing LaRocco, Cooper, M.H. Stevenson, and Chad Peterson out front. They are the top 5 in this 125 moto. It's the first of the 2 motos or races to be held today. Now, each race is scored independent of the other. In other words, a rider that finishes first in moto number 1 gets 25 points. Rider that finishes first in moto number 2 gets 25 points. And the riders that finish behind the first place rider will get points accordingly. Points are totaled up at the end of the day. The most points in both the first and second moto or first and second races will earn overall honors for the day, and all of those points are applied to the national championship. Guy Cooper continues to plod along in this muddy. Oh, and look at that. Guy Cooper, what an unbelievable ride that was. Guy Cooper, he held up his arm. I think he saw the camera there, or he saw the flagger there. I'm not really sure. Probably that guy with the flag had his mouth wide open and didn't believe it. Watch this again. Cooper will be off the motorcycle, Watch this. Here it comes. Look at this. All the way off the bike. He steps back down, hits the ground, runs alongside, gets his foot back on the peg, throws his other leg over. Now watch him raise his arm in triumph. Like, boy, I rode that one to a standstill. An unbelievable near crash on the part of Guy Cooper. Mike LaRocco, your leader aboard his Kawasaki, putting one more lap in the book. Man, oh man, he might be a kind of a favorite here today, but anyone that has seen the ride that Guy Cooper had just turned in as he was completely off the motorcycle would change their allegiance 100%, and they would do it quickly. Cooper in second place would be the #1 hero. I swear the guy could run for president if anyone had seen that. And look, now Cooper is pulling in. He's going to get some new goggles from his mechanics. Yes, the entire Suzuki team running out there to assist him. He just pulled off to the side. He'd already thrown his goggles away. He gets a fresh set, and away he goes. Now, riders have tear-offs on their goggles. They can throw away a piece of celluloid, and that gives them clear vision until someone else throws more mud in their face. And once you get to the end of those celluloid strips, then you have no choice but to either throw the goggles away or you're not going to see anything. Now, this is another advantage to being out front. You can see that Mike LaRocco is still able to retain his goggles because riders have not been throwing mud in his face. Cooper, on the other hand, and riders behind him can see absolutely nothing, and Guy Cooper goes down. There are 3 little jumps there, and it looked like Cooper was maybe trying to triple all 3 of them, and he came up a little bit short. He landed in between the tops of the second jump and the third jump, and his front wheel just nosed into the bank of that third one, and there was no way, no matter how strong you are in a situation like that, when the track is so slippery, so muddy, there was absolutely no way for Cooper to save that. When he hit hard. The bike just shot out from underneath him. Now, it was not a hard, dangerous type spill, although all crashes hurt, let me tell you that. You're going to get a little bit of an ache or a pain out of it, but watch this and you'll see what I mean. See, he's not going as fast as he would be under normal conditions. Now, here he is. Watch the front wheel. See, he just slams down in between the tops of the second and the third jump, and he just kind of rolled off the front of the bike. Now, if he had been going at normal racing speed, he would have been smashed to the ground very, very hard. The bike would have come over on top of him, and I think you could have been looking at best, a very, very sore situation, maybe a broken rib or two. But because of the condition out here, and Mike LaRocco, the leader, has done nothing wrong so far today, just made a big error, but he's going back to rectify the situation. He ran off the edge of the track. Now, LaRocco went all the way back to where he ran off the track and then got back on it again. If he had not done that, he could have been subject to severe penalties, even disqualification by the American Motorcyclists Association. If you leave the track, where the track is bannered there, you can see the track outlines. If you leave that area, you must re-enter at the exact area that you left, or disqualification is staring you right in the face. Here's Jeff Emig. He's worked his way to the #2 position after the Guy Cooper crash. So now LaRocco, who is pretty much having things his own way out front, is no longer bored, and I suspect that he may have been. And here's another rider down. Look at this. We don't have no idea who that rider might have been. It's not Cooper, it's not Emig, it's not LaRocco, so it's not going to affect the standings in the first 3 positions. I started to speak of LaRocco being bored. That's probably not a poor choice in words, but when you're out front and there is no one around you, the way LaRocco has been throughout this moto, your mind begins to wander just a little bit, and instead of concentrating 100% on matters at hand, it might be easier to look ahead and wonder. And look, Cooper continues to try to jump. Guy Cooper has been on the ground once, a near disaster earlier in the moto, and he still persists in trying to make these long double and even long single jumps. Guy Cooper, one of the best in the business. I told you, he loves mud, and it's showing out here in this one at Kenworthy Motocross track. Here comes Mike LaRocco, and LaRocco takes the win in moto #1 in this 125cc class. Jeff Emig is going to follow LaRocco across the line, and LaRocco kind of he didn't want to stop and talk to anyone. He just kind of pulled by the spectators, kept right on going as he headed toward the pits. Here comes Jeff Emig. And, you know, earlier I said the bikes could weigh up to 100, 150 pounds more by the time they finish. You can see the mud that is caked on the motorcycles of the riders, the mud that is on the front of the riders. Now, there is enough slop on the racetrack, enough water holes, and it has been raining slightly, that a lot of the mud has turned to a soupy substance, just like Cooper is riding through. When a rider hits that, it washes a lot of the mud off, the hard pack stuff. Here's the way they finished in that first moto. LaRocco, Emig, Guy Cooper, Eric Kehoe, Larry Ward. In that order, that's the top 5. They're all going to head back to the pits. The motorcycles will get a bath. The riders will change clothes, and they'll be coming back out here for a second mud-filled affair. Coming up, though, right after we come back, 250cc action. It'll be the first moto in the season finale. Welcome back. Motorcycle number 2 belongs to Jeff Stanton, the Team Honda rider. He has effectively wrapped up the national championship. All he needs to do is finished in 16th place. Carl Holman talked to Jeff about that.
Are you going to go out to win?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm here for. If I wasn't here to win the race, I wouldn't even show up. So we're here to do whatever it takes to win the race, and if I win the race, the championship will come along with it.
And then we're on to the 500s, and the 500 is something that's eluded you so far, but something I know you're serious where you're looking very much forward to a triple crown this year.
Yeah, I am. I need to work hard and get that 500. Bikes are soon to be a lot better this year, so just take it one race at a time, see what happens.
Obviously, this track here in Troy, Ohio is very, very muddy. Any special considerations?
No, just go out and ride, try to ride it, and stay out of the ruts, and try to save the bike as long as possible. I lost last year. We lost the championship last year because of what happened at Hangtown, so I need to ride smart, but also go out and win the race.
The way the points work out, it's not a very close race. Anything can happen in a point situation, but with 45 points advantage over Mike Kiedrowski, I think that if Jeff finishes at least 15th in one moto, assuming that Kiedrowski could win both motos, that would lock up the championship for Jeff in the outdoor. Or if Mike just finished one moto, like the first moto, if he just didn't finish in the top 2, it wouldn't take a whole lot. But, you know, like I say, we got to finish both motos. But I think Jeff feels he can do that, and he's just going to go out there to race to win and try not to have any contact with any other riders.
Well, Dave Arnold says 15th place is good enough, and according to my figures, it was 16th. But it really doesn't matter. According to Jeff Stanton, he's going out here to win this thing. So 15th, 16th won't matter one bit. He's going to look for the full 25 points and his third 250cc national title. Now, there's Stanton number 2 in the middle of the screen. To your right, to the right side of him, was Jeff Matasevich. To the other side, as he was boxed in by a pair of Kawasaki, was Jeff Ward. The gate has been dropped, and the opening moto of the season finale for the 250 class is underway. Here comes Mike Kiedrowski, rider number 3. He's the only rider, really, that mathematically has a chance to win the title other than Stanton. And it looked like Kiedrowski had bulldogged his Kawasaki into the number 1 spot. But here goes Stanton. Jeff Stanton already taking the lead away from Kiedrowski. He did it on that short straightaway after the first corner. And Stanton is in excellent position to control the tempo of this race. He's out front. There is no mud being thrown in his face. What an excellent opportunity it is for Stanton to clinch the national championship. Now, there's Jean-Michel Bayle. He's the other Honda rider that has put in an appearance. He's the defending 250 national champ. He's not been heard from much this year in this 250 class. Bayle is certainly in no spot to win the title. As a matter of fact, the only thing he can do is either help his teammate or hinder his teammate's progress. We'll see how Bayle chooses. There is no love lost between these two riders. Chooses to handle himself out here today. Whether or not he elects to try to pass Stanton and take points away from him, or maybe put himself between Stanton and the rest of the field. So it's Bayle in second, Jeff Ward running up into the number 3 position. Crowd is on their feet, running back and forth in the not so ideal conditions, and they've watched Stanton and Bayle meanwhile open up a rather healthy margin over the rest of the field. Now Bayle takes an inside line. Stanton goes high in that corner. Jean-Michel Bayle hugging the trees, and Bayle goes out of the rut. There's a deep rut there. Bayle got to the wrong side of it, and the motorcycle just slid out from underneath him. It stayed running. There's Jeff Ward. Ward coming into that same rut, and he was able to moved to the outside of Jean-Michel Bayle, and he took over the number 2 position, and Bayle drops back. I think he dropped all the way back to the number 4 slot. So right now, Jeff Stanton is out front, and he is all by himself. We go back just a year ago on this racetrack, and Stanton, who was again contending for that 250 title, had an opportunity to pick up a lot of points, and what he did was get off his motorcycle very, very hard and was smashed to the ground, and he ended up losing points on the day. Now that's that's Jeff Matasevich, rider number 9. So Matasevich gets off to the side of the track, and Matasevich having his problems. Now look, by comparison, how fast Jeff Stanton is going. It appears that the mud is not bothering Stanton at all. He is really on the gas. I have to think that if I'm looking for a title, I'm going to clinch it out here today in the final round of the 250cc National Championship Series, that I'm going to ride just a little more cautiously than that. 15th or 16th place is going to cement the title. It'll wire it for Jeff Stanton. That's all he has to do. But apparently that's not going to be good enough. And I think that if I were him, I would certainly want to take that approach. There's Jeff Ward still running in the number 2 position, right on his rear wheel. There he is, Jean-Michel Bayle. So Bayle making up some of the time that he lost while after crashing in that slippery small uphill or small jump where he got crossways in the rut and slid off to the side. This is the battle for the number 2 position. Jeff Ward has got it. Jean-Michel Bayle wants it. Bayle, the defending 250 champ. Ward, a former 250 champ. He's going to hang it up at the end of the 1992 motocross season. Now Bayle, who is a former world champion, certainly is one of the best mud riders in the world. But he has experienced his difficulties out here today. Bayle winning the world championship in 2 different classes, the 125cc class and the 250cc class. Here's Stanton as he continues to pick him up, lay him down, and lead the field here in the opening round of the 250cc class. The final competition for the 250s in 1992. Jeff Ward, Jean-Michel Bayle running 2nd and 3rd. This is a 6-race series. From here, most of these 250 riders will switch to there's another rider down. Now there's a switch. The flagger is trying to pick up the motorcycle while the motorcycle racer is on a yellow flag, and he's trying to hold up the traffic. I have never seen that before. That is rather unique. I started to say that most of these 250 riders will now go to the 500cc National Championship Series. That series is 5 races long. Now the 125s started their season the same time the 250s did, but theirs is not going to be over today. They're going to run the 125s all the way through the 500, so they have actually an 11-race series. So today is just past the midway point in the 125 class. A lot of time left there. But now Stanton is being just a little more cautious and moving into the number 2 position. He's made the pass. No, he has not made the pass as Jeff Ward just sneaks in. It looked like Bayle had gotten underneath him there for a few seconds, but Ward kind of dialed that throttle on with a heavy hand, and he regained that slot before Bayle was able to control it. But Bayle comes right back at him, and Bayle has taken over now the number 2 position. So it's Stanton now. Stanton getting just a hair squirrely, and he almost ran off the track. Well, there's an old racing adage that says the race is not over until the checkered flag is thrown. We're a long way from that point, and Stanton could still have problems and still could lose this championship. Now, Kiedrowski is going to have to move way up in the pecking order here for that to happen. But the other thing that has to happen, of course, is for Stanton to have some kind of a problem and put him out of the competition, or at least below the number 15 or 16 position. But right now, Stanton appears to have things well under control. Stanton holding down the number 1 position. He's out of Sherwood, Michigan, has won the 250 title on 2 occasions, looking to put his 3rd one in the bank. He did it in 1989, did it again in 1990. This rider, Jean-Michel Bayle, was the national champ in 1991, and the rider right behind him, Jeff Ward, interestingly enough, won national titles in 1985 and again in 1988 in this 250 class. A world of talent looking to be the overall winner here at Kenworthy's Motocross Park. Season finale in the 250cc class. Jean-Michel Bayle. He crosses the finish line, puts 1 more lap in the book, followed by Jeff Ward. Those 2 riders are in 2nd and 3rd place. Stanton is around the corner and out of sight. Here's Jeff Stanton. He's still holding down the number 1 position. He's looking for his third 250 title. A 16th place in this moto will do it. That would give him 5 points. And even if Kiedrowski were able to come up and win this moto and win the final one, they would end up the season after 6 events tied in points. And ties are broken through a formula adopted by the American Motorcyclist Association that has to do with a rider's performance in all of the races, the entire series. Here's a look again at Jean-Michel Bayle and Jeff Ward running third. Here's the interval back to the number 4 position. That's rider number 9. That's Jeff Matašević. Matašević not known as a mud rider, and I think he probably would be the first rider to tell you that. He comes from the hard-packed tracks of California, and mud is not his favorite thing to ride, but he is doing an admirable job out here. Stanton has slowed the pace. As a matter of fact, now Jean-Michel Bayle is pushing Stanton. It's like we're getting down to the end, and there goes Bayle. He's feet on the pegs. He just bounces through that muddy, rutted section. He took the high right-hand line through that section. Stanton went to the left. That's where Bayle fell just a few laps ago. Stanton went into that same line. He's just kind of plodding along now as Jean-Michel Bayle has come to life. He takes over the number 1 position, and I rather think that Stanton will stick right where he is and not try to race with Bayle. The championship is on the line. He's going to secure it. He's just got to be careful. So it's Bayle, Stanton, Ward, Jeff Matašević, then David Hand rounding out the top 5. Jean-Michel Bayle has picked up the pace considerably. I told you a while ago that he was a master at riding mud. You get a lot of that in Europe. That's where he cut his teeth racing motocross. I'm not sure that the mud is the same type as we have over here. You can't just say mud is mud or sand is sand. There are different types. Some of it is stickier than others. Some of it is kind of sloppy, and some of it is just plain nasty, and that is filled with sand, and it acts almost like sandpaper. Here comes Bayle to take the checkered flag, and he does. He wins moto number 1, wins it rather handily after making the pass on Jeff Stanton. He pretty much controlled the pace from that point on. So Bayle looking for his first overall win of the season. Here comes Jeff Stanton when he takes the checkered flag. This time he will have claimed the 1992 250cc national title. Just one more corner to go, and Stanton will record his 2nd title of the season, his 3rd overall in the 250 class. Stanton pulls off his goggles. I don't know if he's looking for someone to throw him to, or if he just wants to get back to the pits and get the soggy, muddy, filthy clothing off, get into something warm and dry. The title is history. We'll be back with 125cc action in Second Moto right after this. Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, you're watching National Championship Motocross. We're at Kenworthy Motocross Park. It's just a few miles from Troy, Ohio. It's been raining here off and on all day long. It rained considerable just the day before. As a matter of fact, this park, when we arrived here this morning, was a virtual quagmire. They've done considerable work on the racetrack. They had to move a lot of mud off the track with dozers, with shovels, whatever they could get their hands in. We've gone through both of the opening motos in the 125 and 250 class. This is moto number 2 in the 125cc class. Now, if you like pretty motorcycles and good-looking riding gear, I suggest you look quickly. They will not look this way the next time around. They're all being pelted by mud. They're going to hit some of the softer stuff in the backstretch of this racetrack, and then they will really, really get messy. Jeff Emig again controls the tempo of this one. The Team Yamaha rider finished in the number 2 position in the opening moto. Mike LaRocco won it. Guy Cooper was 3rd, Eric Kehoe 4th, and Larry Ward was 5th. Now, Emig won just 1 week ago the first overall national championship of his career. He won that event in Red Bud, Michigan, Red Bud Track and Trail. It was actually Buchanan, Michigan, and he's been on a roll. First couple of results that he turned in on the season were not all that good, but since then he has found himself as a rider, and he has really come alive. Holding down the number 2 slot, rider number 39. There he is up over the top of the whoops is Jimmy Button. DGY Yamaha. Tyson Volan is running 2nd. Guy Cooper working his way up through the pack. Not a particularly good start for Cooper, but he's making progress now that he's out on the racetrack. I told you again, he's a very, very strong mud runner. Jeff Emig, surprising in the mud situations. You just don't see that much of it where Emig is from, and you have to wonder where this young man picked up the ability to ride mud the way he has been riding. I guess that old theory about once a racer, always a racer, and if you're a racer that's good on dry stuff, then you'll be good on wet stuff. I guess that is holding true out here today. We had a shot of Guy Cooper. There's Larry Ward, rider number 10 out of Snohomish, Washington. Ford currently residing in Society Hill, South Carolina. There, Jeff Emig rather, continues to pull away from the field. Jimmy Button still running in the number 2 position. DGY Yamaha riders number 39. There's Button. Big, tall, lanky rider, almost too big for that motorcycle. There was 3rd spot. That was Guy Cooper, rider number 5, aboard the Suzuki. There's Cooper now setting up Button. It looks like he wants to make a run at him. He got a good drive back there, squared the corner off, and now the 2 riders down that straightaway are side by side, and Cooper had the better line of the 2. He kept Button out in that sticky, slippery mud, and Button was losing a little bit of ground. He could not maintain the traction, and the bike was actually sliding back and forth underneath him. Meanwhile, Cooper hooked up, and he was gone as he takes over the number 2 position. Now, you see all of that tissue, or it looks like tissue, flapping from the left side of Guy Cooper's face. I believe that's the roll-off system that he uses for goggles. It's either that or they're tear-offs that have gone astray, but I believe Cooper uses some kind of a roll-off system, and if that's the case, he is not going to improve his vintage no matter what he does throughout the remainder of this event. Jeff Emig, meanwhile, continues to hold down the number 1 position. Emig aboard the Yamaha, won the race just 1 week ago, as we have already told you a couple of times, has been on a roll of late. He is, in my opinion, one of the fastest 125 riders going right now. The only one really that has been pushing him would be Mike LaRocco, and there goes a crash. I'm not sure. I'm looking at a mud-plastered body and a motorcycle that's covered with mud. That could be, well, I tell you, it could be a couple of riders, but I believe it's rider number 39. That would be Jimmy Button, the DGY Yamaha rider. Meanwhile, up front, Jeff Emig says, who cares what's happening back there? I'm on my way to winning this moto. That's going to give me the overall honors for the day, my 2nd in a row, the 2nd in my career. I don't care what's happening to those guys behind me. Guy Cooper does, though. He's one of those guys behind Jeff Emig. Now look to the side of the racetrack. You see all of that standing water that is out there. Actually, there are a lot of people collected here, but certainly they're not standing there. You can see how soupy it is just down toward the bottom of your screen. We'll find another good shot of that coming up here. Here's Jeff Emig, and look to the background. See, all over you'll see standing water around this racetrack. They used every bit of equipment that they could get their hands on to get the water off the track. They were left with this muddy quagmire mess. Some of it is starting to dry out now, but down in the lower places, you get back in the shadows, and particularly in the low spots where they were not able to move all the water, and it is really treacherous riding. Jeff Emig continues to hold down the number 1 position in this, the 2nd of 2 motos in the 125 class. Guy Cooper has worked in the 2nd, Mike LaRocco up to 3rd, then Steve Lamson, and Tyson Volan has worked his way up to the number 5 position. So Volan cracks the top 5. Cooper continues to let it all hang out to try to catch up. Mike LaRocco, looking to pad his series points lead, wants to pick off at least one more rider, and the rider immediately in front of him is Guy Cooper, and you can bet that he'd like to pick off 2. He'd like to go all the way to the front and tangle with what appears to be his nemesis at this particular time, and that would be Jeff Emig. LaRocco got a wheel on the outside of Cooper. Cooper slammed the door. He was good in that corner, got in and out with no wasted motion. That's what he's going to have to do if he wants to keep LaRocco behind him. Pick the good line, ride it just as hard as you possibly can, make no mistakes. If you do that, then it's all up to LaRocco. He's going to have to make something happen. But at least if you're able to do that, you'll know that you were control of your destiny, control of your position on that racetrack, and you did not give it up. That's what's running through Cooper's mind. What's running through Emig's mind? He's saying, let me get to the checkered flag, put this one in the book. It'll be 2 overall wins in a row for me, son. Won my last one at Redbud just a week ago. I want to make it 2 in a row. Here's the battle for the number 2 position. Guy Cooper. Then 2 bike lengths behind comes Mike LaRocco, make it 3 bike lengths right now. But I'll tell you, it's going to close right back up again, and there indeed it does. One rider makes a little tiny error. The next one comes along and catches him, but then he makes a little error, and that little bobble puts him off the pace. Meanwhile, Jeff Emig has not been off anyone's pace all afternoon. The youngster from Highland, California, aboard his Yamaha has not been headed. He's pretty much controlled the entire tempo of this event. And there again, the battle with LaRocco and Cooper. At one point, LaRocco had moved up even with Cooper, and Cooper dug down and found just a little bit of reserve, and he pulled back in front of Mike LaRocco. So Cooper knows he's there, He can hear the engine rubbing. He knows if he's on his left. He knows if he's on his right. He knows exactly at all times where that rider is, and he needs to know if he wants to keep him back there. Again, back to our leader, Jeff Emig, rider number 8 for Team Yamaha. Back to the battle for the runner-up position. There's Cooper on the far right-hand side of your screen. And here comes LaRocco on the left-hand side of your screen. Cooper aboard a Suzuki, LaRocco on a Kawasaki. And Cooper bobbled back there just one jump earlier. He got off the gas, and he paid the price. Look at this. That's all it took, as Mike LaRocco has now taken over the number 2 position, dropping Cooper to 3rd. It's still Lamson in 4th, and Larry Ward in the number 5 position. But it only took just one little mistake on the part of Guy Cooper, and there was Mike LaRocco ready to pounce, ready to take advantage. Cooper started the season down in Gainesville, was 2nd place overall. He had a 13th place overall. A couple of kind of miserable performances for Cooper. Then he came back with another 2nd overall, then a 7th overall, and another 13th overall just 1 week ago. Now, that is not the way Guy Cooper normally finishes in a season. Usually you'll find Cooper up there with a couple of wins, a couple of 2nd places, but in contention for the title. And he's not out of it. This is an 11-race series. Don't forget that. 11 races long, and this is only race number 6. So when they leave here today, 5 more events to go. That's a total of 10 motos. Anything, and I'm talking anything, can happen in this one before it's over. There's your leader, Jeff Emig, rider number 8, Highland, California, Team Yamaha. 1 overall national championship win to his credit. He got that just 1 week ago. And until that time, Emig had never even won a national championship moto. So he entered the contest for national championship points in, I'd have to think, rather spectacular fashion. Here's another rider that rides in spectacular fashion. That, of course, is Mike LaRocco. He's the series points leader, and he could almost get off at this point and have a sandwich, and he would still hold on to that series lead. He's not going to lose that many points in this 2nd moto. He's currently holding down the number 2 position. Here's Emig. He's on cruise control now. Just a few more corners to go. He's going to take the win in the 2nd moto. You add those points to the points that he earned in moto number 1, and you'll find out that he is going to be the overall winner for the day, his 2nd overall win in national championship competition in a row. 1 week ago, he had none, but he won the race at Red Bud, Michigan. That was his first one. He's coming down here now with that one under his belt. He said the first one is the tough one. From now on, it's going to get easier. Boy, did he make it look easy out here in the 2nd moto. Look, he is not even dirty. The rest of the bikes, the rest of the riders coming in with 100 pounds or so of mud on them, but not Emig. He's nice and sparkly clean. Very, very happy. He has just won his 2nd national in this 125 class. More motocross. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching National Championship Motocross. Good to have you with us. We're at Kenworthy Motocross Park in Troy, Ohio. This is the 2nd 250 moto coming up, the final moto of the day. And I might add, it is the final moto of the 250cc National Championship season. The first moto held earlier, Jeff Stanton wrapped up the title. He'll be on cruise control for this one. He can either just let it slide, he can go for broke. Doesn't matter how many points he gets or the competition inherits. He's going to take home the number 1 plate today. Jeff Matasevich, whoa! And Matasevich at the end of that long, muddy straightaway had the lead, and he was kind of shocked, I think, when he hit the brakes to try to make that corner. The bike just went into a wicked sachet left and right and left and right. He almost went down, but he was able to hold it upright, and he came out of that thing in fairly decent shape. He did not get the hole shot that he was aiming at, but all in all, he turned in a pretty remarkable performance. Jeff Stanton took the lead out of that fracas. Stanton is there, and we had just a quick glimpse of some of the other riders in the field. See how they were doing. I saw Michel Bayle was fairly close to the front. There's Mike Kiedrowski, rider number 3. Now he's in the number 2 position. He's giving chase to Stanton. Let's see this again. Well, watch Matasevich on the left of your screen. Watch him. There he is. Oh, I see. He hit that rut, and he bounced out of it, and the rear wheel got bound up in it, and I think he probably touched the brakes, and the bike just said, whoa, I don't want to go there, and neither did Matasevich, because there was down, and they didn't want to do that at all. So Jeff Stanton emerged with the number 1 position. He's being chased by rider number 3, Mike Kiedrowski. Checking further back in the pack, I believe that was Jean-Michel Bayle, who's holding down a number 3 spot, and that could have been Matasevich in 4th. to check the leaderboard here in just a couple of more corners, and we'll find out where everyone is stacked up exactly in the top 5. I can tell you this for sure, as again, riders are being covered with mud, and it's just impossible to read those number plates, but it's Stanton out front, and here we go, Kiedrowski, Bayle, Jeff Ward is in the number 4 position, and that was Ward that we were looking at, but Tasevich is in the number 5 slot. So there are 3 Kawasaki's in the top 5 and 2 Hondas, no Yamahas and no Suzuki's. The scorecards not looking too good for those 2 brands, as Honda and Kawasaki dominating in Moto number 2. You watch Jeff Stanton and you have to wonder what is going through his mind. He has already wrapped up the title. He could park that muddy, nasty Kawasaki on the side of the track and just sit there with a big smile on his face and wonder how he's going to spend the huge bonus that he will get from Team Honda and the rest of his clothing suppliers. He's out front. He's being followed by Mike Kiedrowski, Jean-Michel Bayle in third. Bayle was the winner of Moto number 1. You remember that Bayle seemingly was content in the early going to follow the pack. But then with just a few laps to go, he turned the wick up. He really burnt the rest of the field. He moved into the number 1 spot and just kind of ran away from everyone. You might wonder why Jean-Michel Bayle waited so long to make the effort to pass Jeff Stanton and then go on to take the win. The reason I think is he wanted to avoid at all costs tangling with his teammate and being the guilty party should Stanton fall down and not be able to finish the race, and then Kiedrowski coming on and winning both motos to take the championship. That, of course, would have given the title to Kawasaki instead of Honda. So Jean-Michel Bayle was very, very careful. When he finally made the pass, you recall, he did it on the extreme right-hand side of the track, and that was while Jeff Stanton was on the left-hand side. And now Bayle has moved past Mike Kiedrowski. So Bayle has taken over the number 2 position, and now there is no reason to hold back. He doesn't have to worry about a bump, doesn't have to worry about a nudge. All he has to worry about is taking the moto win and collecting the bonus dollars that are up for grabs for, and Kiedrowski got sideways off that jump, and he almost ate it big time. That one was close. Meanwhile, look at this. Bayle on the right-hand side of your screen. It's Stanton on the left side as Jean-Michel Bayle has taken over the number 1 position. Now, Bayle finished in the number 1 spot in Moto number 1, and Stanton was second. If they could have reversed or would have reversed those positions in the second moto, Stanton would have been the overall winner. They'd have tied on points, but Stanton would have turned in the best performance of the 2 in the second moto. So the win would have gone to Jeff Stanton. Now, here's an interesting fact for your trivia buffs. How many 250cc national wins has Jean-Michel Bayle accumulated in his career? Stop and think about that a few moments. I would tell you this, if you go way back to 1989, that's when he won his first one. And I'm also going to tell you that in 1991, I don't want you to forget this, he did win the 250cc national championships. So how many career wins will this make for Jean-Michel Bayle? Good question. I'll give you the answer in just a couple of moments. Meanwhile, Jeff Stanton does not want Bayle to get that win. Stanton has really come hammering back, and look at this. Stanton repasses Bayle to take over the number 1 position. Stanton is working hard. He wants the overall win out here today in Troy. Stanton has always said that, hey, you're not a champion unless you go for the win every inch of the way, and that's exactly what Jeff Stanton is doing out here today. Stanton back in the number 1 spot. Bayle hammering at his rear wheel. Here's the answer to that trivia question. If Bayle wins here today, it will only be the second 250 national win of his career. That's right. He won that first one in Gainesville, Florida. He was here riding as an experiment, experimenting, I think, on his own, find out if he wanted to come here and race. That was in 1989. He only rode a few Supercross events. Look at this mask. Look at this move. Stanton went to the outside. I think he was trying to block the line of Jean-Michel Bayle, and Bayle just squirted to the inside, took over the number 1 spot. So in any event, Bayle on his way back to Europe to ride the Grand Prix stopped off at Gainesville, Florida, the opening round of the 1989 250 National Championship Series. He won that event and then went on to Florida Europe rather, to win the Grand Prix 250cc class. Came back to the United States in 1990. A look at the leaderboard. He rode 125s, so he had no opportunity to win more 250 events. In 1991, he won the 250 championship, but in the process of doing so, he won no overall events. He was just plain consistent all year long, and a couple of other riders had their problems. So Bayle was made the champion, or declared the champion, by virtue of having the most points. No wins, but having the most points. So that's a good trivia question for you trivia buffs. Put that one in the back of your mind, and who knows, it might win you Coca-Cola someday. This one is winding down. Jean-Michel Bayle will take the checkered flag. A pair of wins here today on a very nasty track at Kenworthy, Ohio. So he'll take the overall win, but this man will take overall honors for the 250cc National Championship class. He's got to be happy about that. Bayle, overall winner, then comes Stanton, Motacevich, Ward, and Mike Kiedrowski. Team Kawasaki turning in a rather impressive performances out here today, especially Motacevich. Turned in some great rides. He just doesn't know that much about mud. We'll be right back. Round 6 of the championship series is history. Here's the way it ended in the 125 class. Emig, LaRocco, Cooper, Ward, and Button. Here are the point standings after 6 events. LaRocco, Cooper, Emig, Tishner, and Ward. There are still 5 events to go in the 125 class. In the middle, Jeff Emig, the overall winner, his 2nd consecutive overall win of the season and the 2nd of his career. He took a champagne bath. Here are the final results, overall results in the 250 class. It was Bayle, Stanton, Motacevich, Ward, and Kiedrowski, and the final point standings in the class. The season was wrapped up. It was Stanton, Kiedrowski, Bayle, Bradshaw, Brooks. There are the points off to the right. So Stanton winning the #1 plate rather handily. And a few moments ago, while Stanton was all muddy and dirty, he accepted the new #1 plate. He's now back at the truck, and he's nice and shiny and cleaned up.
Didn't ride good, so I'm not too happy right now.
Tell us about the 2 motos.
Oh, they just went terrible for me. I just didn't ride good. Plain and simple, I got beat.
Are you looking forward to the 500s?
Yeah, I am. Just keep driving forward and win all 3 this year. I've yet to do it, so I'm going to do it this year.
Very good. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you on the 500.
Thank you.
And with that final look at a distressed Jeff Stanton, we're out of time. Hope you'll join us next week on Sports Channel America for continued coverage, exclusive coverage of National Championship Motocross. This has been a Power Sports production.